rolling. We're live in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, viewers. My name is Elizabeth Zott, and this is Supper at 6.
Yes. Based on the novel by Bonnie Garmus, a chemist becomes a beloved cooking show host. Courtney McBroom served as the cooking consultant on Lessons in Chemistry, and she's joining us right now to share more. Hey, Courtney, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start off with, tell us, what is Lessons in Chemistry? What is it all about?
Well, it's the story of Elizabeth Zott, and she has quite a journey. She thinks she's going one way. She keeps getting told, no, you can't do that. Things keep falling apart. So she keeps pivoting. She has so much tenacity. She stands strong in who she is as her person, and she doesn't give up. She keeps going, and she finds that the journey maybe she thought she was supposed to go on wasn't the journey she was supposed to be on, and ends up exactly where she needs to be. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your role. You served as
And there's a lot of delicious food, too.
Oh, yes, yes. Which I know you had a very big hand in that because you served as a food consultant. Let's talk more about your role as a food consultant on the series.
So I worked with the writers and the directors and the producers and Bree specifically, who is also executive producer, on figuring out how we wanted the food to look, what did we want it to feel like, how did we want it to pop off the screen. We knew we wanted everyone to be very hungry when they watched the show. And then I took that back to the kitchen, worked with the food stylist, and we created all of the food that you see on the show. So it was very hands-on, it was very fun. We had a really good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Any of your favorite recipes make it on the show?
Well, lasagna. Lasagna is a starring role. Should have its own credit. That's definitely one of my favorite recipes. It's a recipe that I made at home a ton before working on the show, and we tweaked it a little bit so it would be have more of a nod to the 50s in it. But by far, my favorite recipe. And also, symbolic of Elizabeth Zott herself. There's so many layers, it's so complex. Elizabeth is always trying to perfect it, just like she's always trying to be perfect herself. So I think it's a beautiful dish to start the show out with.
No,
Yeah, absolutely.
man.
I guess there is kind of a science to cooking.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I love that you're using food as a metaphor. That is my love language. That's awesome. And you spoke about this. You kind of worked with the...
Mine too.
Yeah, you work with the creative team there to make these foods. But how did you decide which food specifically would be featured in the show?
Well, we decided early on, Elizabeth Zott is a woman of her time. She's a woman of the 50s. There's no doubt about that. But she's also very much a woman ahead of her time. And we really wanted her style of cooking to be representative of that. So she makes everything from scratch. She uses only the freshest ingredients. She has a basil plant in her kitchen. Whereas the food from the 50s, there was a lot of canned goods. There were a lot of preservatives. There were a lot of Jell-O molds. And Elizabeth Zott never made a Jell-O mold. So, yeah, we wanted there to be a nod to the 50s, but also Elizabeth Zott in her own way and feel modern.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course, it's fall and those temperatures outside are getting a bit cooler. Can you let us in on your favorite go-to dish this time of year?
Well, I mean, lasagna is always a good warming dish, but I also really like slow braised meats with like a lot of warming spices, like beef bourguignon or something like that you can put in the oven. The oven will heat up the house, and it'll smell really good for hours, and it'll be so nice and cozy. And then a hot toddy, drinking hot toddies.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Yes.
Gotta have a hot toddy.
All those warm dishes that you mentioned. Yeah. Courtney, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for your
much.
time, for joining us today. We appreciate it. Lessons in
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So nice chatting with you.
Yes. You can see Lessons in Chemistry. It's streaming on Apple TV Plus.